Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.
Oh my, it's a shank. He decided to re-tee. That's a shank. Oh, man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Two-Way Miss podcast. Thank you for joining us wherever and whenever you might be listening. We appreciate everyone out there who's tuning in. As always, we are joined tonight by the good buddy Banksy. We had some slight technical issues getting you in here, buddy, but it's good to see you. Good to hear you. How's it been going, man?
It's going great. It's going great. Happy to be here. As always, looking forward to talking some golf with my best bud here.
We got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff's been happening. And I know we didn't have an episode last week, but it was I did it kind of on purpose. So much stuff was happening. And I know generally with this podcast, we don't take it uber seriously. And, you know, we don't go over every detail of everything. We've said this from the beginning. Like, we're trying to have just a conversation that you might have with your buddy that you haven't seen in a few weeks, that you're getting in the golf cart and you're just going over the stuff that you've seen on Twitter, heard about on ESPN that day, you know, stuff like that. But a lot of stuff has happened and a lot of stuff is changing, like, for real. So I kind of needed to take that an extra week and kind of wrap my head around everything that was going on, because I think it's going to be worth it to talk about that stuff and talk about it semi-intelligently. Again, we're not we're not journalists, we're not reporters. We don't have to go into this stuff. And, you know, we have day jobs, so we can't sit here and read every article that's been written about. But stuff came out about the meeting that happened in Delaware. You know, the PGA Tour has announced huge changes to the tour itself. Rory and Tiger are going in on this joint sports venture that's going to create this wacky, we'll talk about it, but this wacky, like, Monday Night Golf. And then Liv announced 6 more signings, which one of them, you know, spoiler alert, contains the current Open champion and Players champion. So a ton has been going on, and we took a little bit of extra time to kind of get our heads around it so we can talk to you all about what's happening, give you some real updates on what's going on in the world of golf, because it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And for the casual fan, like, it can be a lot to follow. If you're not reading all the articles or really looking into what's happening, it can be a lot. And you might not know like really what's going on when you're done looking at all the Twitter posts. So hopefully this podcast will serve as all our fans' way of, you know, learn a little more about what's going on. Maybe it generates some questions for people that they can reach out to us and ask. But man, we've got a lot to talk about, dude.
Yeah, I feel like we say that every time we get on. You're like, whew, lots going on. It's been a crazy. Yeah, I like your word, wacky. It's been a wacky year.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a better word to describe it, to be honest. But all right, well, let's jump into the Tour Championship and East Lake and the FedEx Cup. Now, as always, we're just going to say up top, Rory McIlroy beat Scotty Sheffler and Sungjae Im by 1 shot to win not only the Tour Championship, but also win the FedEx Cup. His second, right? His second FedEx Cup or third? Can't remember. Third. Thank you. His third FedEx Cup, which puts him with Tiger as the only guys to win 3 FedEx Cups.
I don't know if Tiger's won 3.
Did he win?
I think
not
Rory's
win 3?
up there. I think Tiger has 2. I think Rory might be by himself.
We're looking it up.
Look it up. But, you know, every once in a while, Rory just reminds you of how freaking good he is. He doesn't do it often.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, he reminds you. I mean, I know Scotty didn't play his best. And honestly, with the year that Scotty had, did that dude just run out of gas? Maybe.
It's tough to say run out
Rory,
of gas when you finish second and only lose by 1.
Right, but if you watch the tournament, I mean, he played
for sure.
3 over.
Yeah.
I mean,
his Sunday was not great.
You just run out, and it could be a mental thing, a swing. Like he's a high fade player, and he duck hooked several tee shots to the left. It's just to play as well as he's played for an entire season, and then have a big lead this week, and you got $25 million on the line. You run out of gas, and you're just not firing on all cylinders. And then you have a guy like Rory, who, like I said, every once in a while he shows you how good he is, and Rory's crushing drives and making some putts. It's fun to watch Rory play well. We just don't see it enough.
Yeah. And he certainly has, and by the way, Rory does have 3 and Tiger does only have 2, but that's because they started playing this in 2007 and he still won 2. And he probably would have had 7 by now if they had started in like 2001.
I know.
By the way, great video on YouTube is Tiger Woods, like the PGA Tour's recap of Tiger Woods' 2000, like that whole season. It's ridiculous. I think he wins like 9 times.
Yeah, that year was stupid.
But anyway, we digress. And I was listening to No Laying Up, and they kind of went through Rory's strokes gained stats for this year and his finishes for this year. And again, we have these expectations for Rory that are so high, and that's based on the just nuclear start to a golf career that he had with the major wins and all those things. And he has developed in the past several years into just a sort of regular PGA Tour winner. He won the Players, hasn't won any majors, but still racked up quite a few wins just in regular PGA Tour starts. Obviously, we have higher expectations for Rory than that. But it's like you said, when this dude, like, he's still possibly the most talented golfer on the planet. Just flat out. That guy, that driver, I just like, you could just like watch it on repeat and never watch another shot that guy took. And you'd be like, that's the best golfer I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah.
With one with one club, you wouldn't have to watch him putt or hit a chip or hit a wedge or hit an iron. You just be like, how is that guy not the greatest golfer in the world? And when that thing, he's just had an unbelievable driving year. It seems like all year that driver has just been so hot, and everything else, it hasn't fallen into place, whether it be the putter or the wedge game that we've talked about at length on, several of our podcasts.
Right.
But he's listen, this is what we wanted at the Open. He started making putts. He started dropping putts. He was getting his wedge game, putting himself relatively close to the pin. And when Rory McIlroy makes putts and doesn't leave himself in awful places, which he did a few times with his wedges, it's just you don't have to remember, but it's always good to see that, all right, that guy's still in there. He's still there. The talent hasn't gone anywhere. And when he puts it together, it's just crazy. Again, you could just put that driver swing on repeat and just watch that for the whole tournament.
Yeah, and he's fun to watch. He's one of those players that he does amazing things. Whether it's the driver, getting to par 5s and 2, like, he does cool stuff, and you just want to see it more because he's a little guy, which also is fascinating to see the amount of speed and power he's able to generate. And he's such a little guy. Like that would drive me nuts
if you had to play against him.
And just
15 yards past you every hole.
Yes, 15, probably like 30.
Yeah. He was carrying some of those, like 330 or something.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So I'm happy. Scotty, great year. I'm happy for Rory. He worked his ass off to get that Open. I think everybody gave it to him.
Yeah.
And it was taken away from him. So it's good for Rory to close this out and cash in another $20 plus $1 million.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
So I want to just quickly run down the sort of final FedEx Cup standings. We can just talk briefly about, all these guys' years. And I mean, we can just run through the top 10. It's got some names in there that I don't think anyone would have sort of expected. So obviously number 1, Rory. 2, Sung J M. That guy he just plays so much that he racks up these points like it's nothing.
Yeah. Just plays every week.
Yeah. Just crazy. Scotty Sheffler, obviously we've talked about Scotty and the year that he's had. Masters champion. What did he reel off? 2 wins before that, and then another. What has he got? 4 wins this year?
Yeah, I think he has 5. I mean, he has all 5 PGA of his tour wins this year.
4 wins plus a Masters, so 5 altogether. Yeah. Not a bad year for Mr. Sheffler. Xander, we don't really care about Xander. He won 3 times this year.
Who cares?
Isn't that weird?
What? That is
3
weird.
times.
That's
Max Homa really finishing in the top 5. He won twice this year. Justin Thomas, Cantlay. Again, Cantlay with 2 wins. You're like, when did he do that? No one knows.
I know.
Seb Straka. I mean, this is unbelievable. This guy is a nobody. Is an absolute nobody. Tony Finau obviously had the back-to-back wins just very recently. Finished 9th. And then Tom Hoagie. Again, he won this year somewhere.
Tom Hoagie?
Yeah. This is one of those guys you'd expect to go to Live because they'd give him $10 million. And he'd be like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Rounding out the top 15, Hideki, Joaquin Neiman, who we'll talk about later, Jordan Spieth, Aaron Wise, Matt Fitzpatrick. So, again, maybe this is because there's no DJ, there's no Bryson, there's no Patrick Reed. Just some of the names you would kind of expect to be up in this top 15, top 20. But it's not there's no John Rahm. Obviously, we said Spieth and Thomas, are some of the big 2. Xander, you could consider the big, really up there. Morikawa was 21st. Zalatoris was 30th. He obviously had to back out because of the 2 slip disc, I think he has, which is no good for a guy who's like 25.
Yeah.
Not a great injury to have when you're that young.
Not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, a fair amount of chalk, but like guys like Sung Jae, Seb Straka, Tom Hoagie in your top 10, it's like, that's kind of just shows you how sort of volatile this year was. And listen, I think there was no better outcome for the PGA Tour than for Rory McIlroy to win the FedEx Cup and the Tour Championship. With everything that guy has been 100%. Doing behind the scenes, and he's, with Tiger not being around much, Rory McIlroy is the face of the tour. He just is. So there really wasn't a better, not a better outcome for the PGA Tour than for this guy to win. It's, its ultimate prize, as they call it.
Yeah.
And so again, I watched the last 6 or the back half or the back 9 of the final round was interesting with Sheffler and Rory being tied and going back and forth. I don't really care that they win this. Like, I don't care necessarily who wins. It's just, it was good to see two good players battling it out, to win the tournament.
Yeah. And if you 18 really, you had the opportunity, you had the stage set there for maybe somebody to do something neat on 18, and they both didn't quite play that.
Yeah.
Whole two great drives.
Yep.
And then just kind of lackluster. And obviously Rory had the 1-shot lead, so I guess he could played it a little bit.
He could afford to just play it
more
really safe. Yeah.
But the stage was set for something crazy to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get that. We got a 1-inch tap in
For par, right?
$18 million tap in par.
Yeah.
For Rory.
After hitting it off the grandstands.
I think you said it. Yeah, it's crazy. He did that twice in the final round. But I think you hit it on the head for sure. Like, that is huge for Rory to have won. I mean, honestly, the only other player that it probably would have been more important or bigger to win with is, if Tiger was in there and won. But with where the PGA is now, and these guys still leave it. Like, how pissed off would you be if Cam Smith won?
Yeah, right.
As he's transitioning to
yep.
to live.
Yeah,
right?
That was the worst case scenario.
It's awesome that Rory won, and you're right. He's the face of the league now, and we'll see. Can Spieth make a comeback? Can Justin Thomas be more consistent? Is Scotty Sheffler gonna be hanging around and have competitive seasons for multiple years? I hope some of these core guys that are sticking around just play a little bit more consistently.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that because right as this tournament is starting, some big announcements came out from the PGA Tour and sort of a restructuring of how they're going to handle events and how the top players are going to be at events. So this all started a week ago at the Bmw Championship in Delaware. Obviously, we talked about Tiger jumping in the jet, flying to Delaware, and getting in the room with, I think they said there were 22 guys or so. And everyone was being kind of hush-hush about it. It was there were no agents, there weren't any, managers. It was a players-only thing. And an article came out from No Laying Up about sort of what happened in that room. So an outside consultant presented a proposal to those players that was put together by Tiger and Rory specifically with help of, not help from the PGA Tour, but some at least acknowledgement from the PGA Tour. And these players were going to finally take some control and say, this is how we want things to happen. Everyone says this is our tour. Usually they just kind of sit back and complain about things and get the tour to make a rule change. But this time they put a proposal together for how they wanted the PGA Tour to move into the future. And really what it came down to is we need the top players playing together more often. And in order to do that, you're going to have to pay them more money.
A lot more money. So what that all came down to is, and I'm just going to read through the article that I have pulled up.
So what that sort of played out into is that there is now a 20 event minimum for players playing the tour. For a very long time, it's been a 15 event minimum in order to maintain your membership. So already making the top players play more golf, which is something they've complained about in the past, and a main reason a lot of the guys are saying that they went to live, but Obviously, that's a bunch of BS. They went to make a lot of money. So that's obviously a big commitment. And the thing about it is that even the top players, I'm going to use top players like in air quotes because we'll explain what top player means in a little bit here. But, you know, the top players will have to compete in these 20 events. And 17 of them are going to be predetermined for them. So essentially, you're going to have the 20 best players on the PGA Tour, you know, that year and the year before, at 17 tournaments. 17 PGA Tour tournaments. This does not include the majors. So at 17 PGA Tour tournaments a year, you are going to see the top players no matter what, barring injury, we'll say. So I think right off the bat, what's your initial reaction to that new minimum and the fact that the top players have gotten together and said, we need to play together more often?
I think it's great. I think it's a no-brainer. Like, hell yeah. Absolutely. And again, I mean, it's incentivized with some serious money.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a sec.
You know, but money aside, like, hell yeah, I want to see these guys play. And I want them paired together too. You know, I want them paired together. I want to see them and I want to watch them play. And I still say these guys got to get mic'd up. I want to hear those conversations between player and caddy. And, you know, I want to hear reactions after shots or, you know, after a big putt. You know, I want to hear what are they screaming? Like, I want to get me more involved.
Yeah.
In the action. Like I want to hear what they're saying, what they're thinking. And yeah, hell yeah. Get them together. Make them play.
Yeah.
Okay? These guys, of course they should play at least 20 events. Like, listen, I get it. It takes a toll on the body. You're traveling. But it's golf, right? Like, get over it and get out there and play.
Yeah, not a shocker that you'd be into this one. So 17,
100%.
Yeah. So 12 of those 17 events are now going to be considered elevated events, 8 of which have already been announced. So the Century Tournament of Champions, that's the one in Hawaii every year. The Genesis Invitational in LA, Arnold Palmer Invitational, the WGC Match Play, the Memorial Tournament, the FedEx St. Jude, the BMW Championship, Tour Championship. So you have the playoff events, you have the one remaining WGC, you have Arnie's event, you have Jack's event, you have the Genesis, which has been a huge event for the past couple of years, and you have the Tournament of Champions. So
I love that they're making Arnie's event something those guys need to be at, because out of pure respect for that guy, all those top names should be there anyway. And I know whether it be scheduling conflicts or too early in the season, players have moved away. Some of the top names have moved away from playing in that. And I think that's bullshit. I mean, that guy was Tiger before Tiger from a marketing standpoint, like, you know, you need to respect what Arnie has done for the game and growing the game. I mean, Golf Channel was because of Arnie. Yeah. So I love that they made that tournament something that these guys have to be at.
So obviously the next 5 tournaments are the Masters, PGA Championship, US Open, British Open, and the Players. Listen, those guys go to that anyway, so that's no change from the norm. There will be 4 more. Oh, wait. So I forgot to read out the money. Let me go back. So the Tournament of Champions going up to a $15 million purse. The Genesis going up to $20 million. Arnold Palmer going up to $20 million. Match Play $20 million. Memorial $20 million. FedEx St. Jude $20 million. BMW $20 million. Tour Championship, $75 million bonus pool. So there will be 4 more elevated events with purses of $20 million each to be announced in the next few months. And then there will be 3 regular season. So those are those 17 elevated events. They will then have to pick 3 regular events, they're calling them, that they can choose whatever they want to enter. But those 17 events, we will see the top 20 players, we don't know in the world because we don't know how the OWGR rankings are going to work out with LIV and all that stuff. So maybe not necessarily the world, but the top 20 players on the PGA Tour will be at those events no matter what. It's a good bottom line here. SI is the article I'm reading, and say the bottom line, we will know where and when the top players will be competing, which is something that we've talked about numerous times on this podcast. How it's really hard to follow the PGA Tour week to week because you just don't care. Like, I don't care if it's just John Rahm playing in a tournament. Like, as much as I love Harbortown and that tournament, and it's cool for me to watch it because I played there a few times, and it's just cool to see guys on a tournament that you can close your eyes and visualize because you've actually been there. It's not fun that like just DJ would go there as the biggest name. Yeah. And like Jim Furyk was winning it up to like 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, no offense to Jim. I love Jim. But
Jim's the man.
He is. So no offense to him, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's hard to get up for stuff like that. So
I hear you. Absolutely.
17
Especially
weeks a year, we're going to know what's going on.
That is absolutely the right move to make.
Yeah.
And the TV companies are going to eat this up. Like it's if everything's staying with CBS, ABC, whatever, like that's huge. Knowing that we're going to get to see these guys. And again, I want them playing together too. Obviously, I know when the weekend comes and mic them up and put them in the same group.
I have no doubt that the groups will be very much skewed to keeping them all together. So Rory had a pretty good quote about this. When I tune into a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, I expect to see Tom Brady throw a football. When I tune into a Formula One race, I expect to see Lewis Hamilton in a car. Sometimes what's happened on the PGA Tour is we all act independently and we sort of have our own schedules. And that means that we never really get together all that often. I mean, they hit the nail on the head there. So nothing much else you can really say about it. So we've been using the term top.
Yeah,
go ahead.
They're just, they're really trying to come together as a brotherhood. We have this outside entity, this live golf, disease that we're dealing with. Like, let's come together as a brotherhood.
Yeah, this is our best way to fight this, is for us to get together and show how, like, what competitive golf can be.
Right, for sure.
So we've been using the term top player a lot, and that's why I put it in air quotes for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube. First of all, shame on you for not watching on YouTube and also not being subscribed. So do that. But a top player will be defined as someone who finished in the top 20 under the current Player Empowerment Program or Player Impact Program, or PIP. So unfortunately, the top player isn't based a lot on winning golf tournaments. It's on your relevancy with the fans. And I think, listen, that's what drives people coming to the tournament. That's what drives people watching the tournament. So I can understand why they're not taking a sort of competition-based measure for this. They want eyeballs. They need eyeballs. They need people to not go over and watch LIV, with whatever the hell they're still doing. And they want people to be watching their product. So that's why the top player is based on this sort of player impact program, which is a measurement of like social media stuff, like, Q rating, your sort of global market impact, not if you won last week. So that's how they'll be, determining all that kind of stuff. So I think the next big thing when I was reading this article is that the next question that SI has is, will elevated tournaments be no-cut events? So as of right now, the answer is, like, technically the match play is there's no cut in the match play. In the playoff events, there's no cut. So none of that is changing, but they're not going to take the Genesis and turn it into a no-cut 54-hole event. That's just not happening. Because they would start to lose their OWGR status. OWGRs, require you to have a certain number of 72-hole events that have a cut. So they're not messing with the structure of the events, which is something that was kind of thrown out there because obviously Liv had taken that approach to do 54-hole no-cut events. So as of right now, nothing is changing with that. Besides the ones that are already like that. Like, the Tournament of Champions is one. That is a no-cut event. It's a limited field. The guys who get there show up, and there's no cut. So any thoughts on that? Did you think they might have... I kind of thought they were going to change something, but then when you really think about it, they kind of can't because they have to keep those tournaments. Like, they're trying to make this the competitive golf league.
Yeah. I'm 100% okay with that. Like, let's still have some competition to this.
Yeah.
Let's not just make it, let's not just make it where, hey, everybody's
like a member
winner.
guest.
Yeah, 100% have cuts.
Right.
I mean, you can still be. We can't get away completely from winners and losers. Like, we still have to have some type of you won, you lost. Try harder, play better next time.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I totally 100% in favor of having cuts.
Yeah. So I think the final two things that I want to talk about is the big thing about this is that the PGA Tour has worked really hard to make a lot of golf tournaments. And it's one of the reasons we haven't seen these guys a lot is because there's just so many tournaments that they don't care about. And
nor should they.
Yeah, but now even more so, if these guys are already slated for 17 events and then they just get to pick 3 random ones, like, that's a big deal. There's a lot of sponsors of these tournaments that are kind of probably shitting their pants because they're like, oh, we used to get at least a few guys, but now with them going to these specific tournaments and only being able to pick 3, how do we know who's going to come? How are we going to sell enough tickets, to keep this thing going? Things like that. So SI did get in touch with the tournament director of the Valspar, which sits in between. It follows the Arnold Palmer and the Players. It's right before the match play, and then 3 weeks later is the Masters. So it's
boy.
It's in a rough spot. And basically the woman said that they can't panic yet. They have to see how it shakes out. The top 20 have to play 3 others, and maybe they pick us.
Hey, that's great.
Yep.
Great plan.
We'll definitely have to put our best recruitment hat on.
Yeah, but do you look at these tournaments and try and shake things up again? We've been talking for a while now, the possibility of combining a women's tournament and a men's tournament. Like, do some of these other tournaments to try and make it at least more fun? Do you see more? Are we going to see more like team events? Right. I mean, we have one with the Barracuda Championship or some shit. I don't know.
The Zurich, right? Isn't the Zurich?
The Zurich. Yeah. Zurich. Yeah. So, do you have more stuff like that from some of these other tournaments to try and entice these guys? Like, listen, we know it's not one of your main events, but you have 3 that you still have to pick. Come have some fun. Like, we'll have some fun with it, right? Yeah. It'll be, I don't know, shit. Put a long drive competition on one of the holes, or get some closest to the pins in there or something, or I don't know. Do tournaments have to think outside the box? I mean,
they're gonna have to. I think is the bottom line. Like, they're gonna have to come up with some sort of
in that capacity. Like, hey, we're bringing the men and the women together. You're not playing together. You're gonna play together, but not on a team. But it's a women's event and a men's event. The women are playing with adjusted tee markers, and it's still a straight up tournament. But men and women playing in the same tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you have another tournament like the Zurich where you're playing with a partner. I feel like some of these tournaments are going to have to think outside the box and come up with other ideas other than whatever that lady's name is who has her fingers crossed saying, hey, maybe they'll pick us.
Yeah, right.
Give them a reason to pick you. You come off these high-end events, these elevated events. Maybe they want to relax and just play with a buddy for a couple days and do something to that effect. I mean, do you agree with that?
No, they're going to have to get real creative on what sort of incentives they put forward for these top guys to come to these places. And it's going to be literally like college football. It's going to be like college football recruiting. Like, they're going to have these people everywhere to talk to these guys. It's going to be like in Vegas. They're going to be slapping cards at you. Hey, come over here. Pay attention to me.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come up with something because literally it's just random. Unless one of the non-elevated events is sponsored by one of their sponsors. So, like, think of like the RBC. If you're sponsored by RBC, that's one of your places. So that's already a spot taken up from a top 20 guy for those sort of non-elevated events. So now you're down to 2. And now you've got 18 or 20 events literally fighting for their existence and to remain relevant.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting, the kind of things that come out about what we hear these tournaments are doing to try and recruit these guys to get there.
But I hope they come up with some like cool stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Like,
I'm with you.
Come up with some neat things to incentivize to get players to your golf tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Put in some work, get the think tank together, and come up with some cool ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah. Having said that, the Valspar's probably fucked.
Yeah. There's a couple of them that don't really stand a chance. The Barracuda being one of them. Last thing that I just want to touch on. So they're implementing an earnings assurance program. So what this is for the 220 players who are like exempt, who have a PGA Tour card. Essentially, the PGA Tour is saying, we will guarantee you $500,000 this year. If you earn more than that, we're not going to pay you. But let's just say somebody earns $250,000 that year. The PGA Tour will then pay them the difference. So they will pay that player $250,000 to get up to that $500,000 mark. And this is just a straight up, Liv is paying these guys a ridiculous amount of money. We have to do something to keep the lower tier guys around. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that, or it just kind of is what it is for me. If you're going to pay those guys at the bottom that much, like, that's fine. Whatever.
I actually didn't hear every PGA Tour card.
So yeah,
holder is guaranteed $500,000.
But if you make more money than that,
well, yeah, that's
the PGA. Yeah, it doesn't play. Yeah, they don't pay you anything.
But if I go out and play and I have my tour card and I miss the cut and every week and I make like $75,000, the tour will make that up for me.
Yes.
Holy shit! Wow. I didn't hear that.
That's just a pure anti-live move, is what that is.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that takes so much stress off of. So how do you lose your PGA Tour card then?
Well, so like, you still have to qualify, So you might like for that, it's just for that year. But the next year, if you don't have your card, you're not getting it. So for that person who does miss all the cuts.
So as long as you have your tour card,
yes, as long as you are exempt, right?
You have a $500,000 salary locked up as long as you have your tour card.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, Liv has thrown a wrench into this thing, man.
Yeah.
Because we'll get into the 6 guys they just announced, but they still have to fill out these fields with a bunch of Asian Tour guys and old European Tour players. So the tour is trying to protect those college kids that are, coming up. The young guys who are just getting their tour cards, the Corn Ferry guys who are just earning their tour cards, stuff like that.
Like, how good of a feeling is that? Like, I just got my tour card. I'm guaranteed a $500,000.
I mean, hopefully it frees these guys up to play some good golf.
Yeah. To
be I don't have to worry about my travel expenses or my family being fed. I'm just going to go out and try and win.
Yeah. I think my initial thought when we talked a couple of weeks ago was oh, maybe they could cover your travel expenses.
Mm-hmm.
You
can check that box.
Yeah. That's where my mind. That's where my mind was, and now you're telling me they're getting $500,000 guaranteed.
Yep, they said the entire program is likely to cost the tour less than $3 million, which is a drop in the bucket.
Sure.
So, yeah, an interesting little tidbit that again, not a lot of people might have realized.
So
is what's happening.
The only thing. We hope these 17 events doesn't turn into is when the NBA has their load management guys and they sit out for bogus reasons.
So I think if that starts happening, my guess is a lot of the other guys are going to get on that guy.
Yeah.
Now, I think you're right. There's a chance that happens.
But case in point, no way in hell Tiger's playing 20 events.
No.
So I'm assuming he'll be able to use one of his injuries as a pass.
Well, again, he's not in the top 20, so he's really not required to do it.
But I thought you said it was based on the PIP or whatever. The PIP.
Oh, yeah. I think Tiger has an exemption with his injuries. I would assume.
Homeboy could post a minute clip of him hitting some wedges in his backyard.
Once a month, and he'd win that thing. Yeah.
And he wins that, that locked up.
I'm guessing Tiger has an exemption from this.
Tiger has the Tiger and can do whatever the hell he wants clause.
Yeah, he's got that gold card in his back pocket that says, "Oh, did you question me? Here's my card."
Yeah. Right.
Sit the F down, sir.
Yeah, right. Right. All right.
I mean, listen, I know that was long, but this is what the PGA Tour is going to look like next year. This isn't taking 5 years to implement. This is happening.
They have to do it.
Yeah.
They have to. They have no choice.
Yep.
They have to. Because we still have these guys rolling out to live. And I'll tell you, everyone that's listening or watching, I haven't watched a damn shot of those live.
So I watched the first one because I just had to. I watched for 10 minutes.
All right. I probably watched for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The very first.
I had to at least turn it on. It was terrible, and I couldn't have cared less.
It's pathetic.
Yeah. So let's get in. Now we're winding down here, but let's get into a couple other things. So in this whole announcement, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy announced this joint sports venture called Tomorrow. Where is it? Tomorrow Sports Group, TMRW. And with it is coming something they're calling the TGL. I don't know exactly what TGL stands for. I don't know. We don't know yet. But anyway, it's essentially they're building a specific sort of top golfy venue that they're going to have teams of guys, teams of 3 competing in different challenges, I guess you could call it. Drivers, long shots, they're going to have short game areas where they can putt and chip and things like that. As for the competition, the TGL will feature teams of 3 competing against each other in a 3-on-3 format. Each team will play 5 times with a 15-week season, and each broadcast will feature just one matchup between 2 teams.
This was done before. Years ago.
I feel like this has been like a TV show.
It has been very like big breaky.
Yeah.
But I saw this before, and I don't know if it's this has been done before.
Yeah.
Now, not with any type of backing,
and not with Tiger Woods,
and Rory, but this has been done before, and it probably didn't last. They probably ran out of money.
So
this has been done before, and I know exactly. Like it's random, like golfers,
right? So that's the thing we don't know. We don't know a lot about this. We know that Tiger will be involved. We know that Rory will be involved. We have to assume that they're going to get other big name people to be involved in this, or else why would you watch?
Yeah.
We don't know how, like, all I'm thinking of is like watching Steph Curry's mini golf show and how cheesy and like corny it was. So I don't know how they're going to make me tune into this other than I just will watch Tiger Woods like eat a sandwich if he's doing it.
Yeah.
But
what they should do is they should let Tiger and Rory like make fun of the players.
Yeah. So it's almost like they're building like this American Gladiator type like venue for it. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on. I'm not super confident it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get all this hype, all these players. I'm a scratch golfer. I'd be on the PGA Tour
but
if it
that's
wasn't
the thing.
for...
Like, if we're just getting scrubs like that, I don't care.
And then they're going to come to this thing and like shank 4 balls in a row.
Yeah,
and be like,
but if you're going to do it like along the lines of like the match, where maybe you get celebrities along with pro golfers, like a lot of people watch that. A lot of people watch those.
Yeah.
And so there's still more information coming out, but this was a big announcement that happened right along with all these other PGA Tour changes. So we'll get more and more information on this as it comes out. But for right now, I'm just skeptical that it's going to be cheesy, but I have to be all in because it's Tiger, and they've already said that like he's going to be in these things. So if it's a chance to watch Tiger Woods hit golf shots, I'm in. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Do we want to get to Live right now? Get to this real quickly.
I don't know. I guess we could do it quick. I mean,
we'll do it quick. We'll just talk about the guys.
Yeah. I'm over it.
I'm with you, but this is probably the most significant signing that has happened for Live. So this week, Live announced 6 new signings. The biggest name is world number 2 Open champion and Players Champion Cam Smith. He's joined by Joaquin Niemann, who's number 19 in the world, Harold Varner III, Cameron Tringali, Mark Leishman, and Anirban Lahiri. So, a lot of those names do nothing for you, but Niemann and Smith are 2 guys who are in their 20s, who have a ton of really good golf ahead of them. One of which is holding a major championship trophy right now and is exempt from all majors for 5 years with winning. So he's not like Cam Smith is not missing any majors anytime soon. It's just, it sucks to lose a guy like that. And apparently a lot of his decision was based on the fact that Liv is bringing 2 events to Australia and the PGA Tour is kind of neglected they used to have, an event in Australia, but they haven't for a very long time. And apparently he just really wanted the chance to go back home and play there. And I'm sure they're paying him $250 million.
Yeah, that's nice try, Cam.
Yeah.
Nice try.
So
way to spin it.
Harold Varner basically came out and said, like, they paid me a shit ton of money that I would never get the chance to make, and I'm going to take it so that my kids are set up.
Yeah, that's unfortunate in the set. Like he was kind of making a name for himself on the tour. I think he was like a first tee kid or something.
Yeah,
like the PGA Tour gave him everything he has.
Yeah. So I read his statement, and he's one of the only guys who has owned up to that. He said the PGA Tour has given me everything. Like this kid from North Carolina who just used golf as a way to get to college and to get out of where he was living, And he's like, look, they're going to give me more money than I know what to do with, and my kids' kids are going to be set up. And he's like, for a guy like me who came from nothing, that's why I'm going. So at least he was honest about it. Like, you don't have to be happy with it, but at least he's not hiding behind, like the Saudis doing really great stuff for the game of golf. You know what I mean? He said not one word about it. He said, this is setting up my children's children's children. So listen, can you not be happy about it? Sure. Can you at least be happy that he was a man and said the true reason for him going? I appreciate that more than these guys who are just feeding us absolute bullshit.
Right. Take the Pat Perez approach.
Yeah,
and just be
exactly.
like, I'm 100% here for the money.
Yeah.
For the money.
Yeah. Listen, we can not be happy about it, but at least we can respect the fact that you stood up and told the truth.
Yeah.
So I think Smith is a huge loss with how good he's been playing. Obviously, he's a major champion and players champion. He's the biggest name, like the world number 2. He's the biggest name from a OWGR standpoint and sort of recognition standpoint this year to go. So again, but we won't think of Cam Smith in 3 years. So I guess it doesn't really matter unless he wins another major.
We'll think of Cam Smith in 3 minutes.
Yeah, until we see him at the majors, which I'm sure he'll be really prepared for after not playing real competitive golf all year. He'll be really jacked up for those tournaments.
Yeah, like honestly, you don't even realize it's been it's already been a whole summer without Phil Mickelson and
DJ,
Dustin Johnson,
Bryson,
Koepka, Bryson, like
Patrick Reed.
It's just, and it's not.
Have you thought about them once?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't. And out of all those guys, I'm a huge Dustin fan. I like Dustin, but I'll probably never watch him play golf again unless he, shows up at a major here and there. I with everything that the tour is doing, you look at a guy like Phil and his legacy in the PGA Tour, and you're like, damn, I wish he would have been that guy that stayed with the PGA and trusted in the PGA.
And then Phil would have ran the Champions Tour for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, you got Tiger and Rory heading everything up. Phil probably would have been right there.
Yeah.
Right there with those three. If Phil would have went to Tiger and been like, Tiger, this Saudi storm is coming. We need to discuss PGA.
We got to do something about this.
And I'm sure there's part of Phil that's sitting back saying, hey, you're welcome, guys. Everybody hates me, but I did this for you. Like the PGA Tour is doing all this because, back in February when I off the record said, oh, we'll use this as leverage.
Yeah, here's your certificate, Phil. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, right. You just wish a guy like Phil would have stuck with the PGA and been, one of the most beloved golfers of all time. But it's not that's not the way it's going to be. And
yeah.
And I don't know about it. Like we may never see him. Now he doesn't even have the option of the Champions Tour.
Right.
We may never see him play good golf again.
Yeah.
Like Phil may be done. Like he is playing like garbage. He's not going to be invited back to anything else, and he can't join the Champions Tour.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a Ryder Cup captain. You would love to think about Phil as being a Ryder Cup captain someday.
Like a multiple time Ryder Cup captain.
And it's gone. Like all that's gone.
Yep.
That one makes me think a little bit. Like Phil's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. And again, we're not going to remember Cam Smith in 4 years unless he pulls off another major win. We're not going to think about Patrick Reed or Bryson DeChambeau or Brooks Koepka. We're just not. So it is a bummer, but they made their bed. So listen, man, I know we went over a ton tonight. There was a bunch of stuff that happened in the past few weeks. We ran through it. I think I'm hopeful that everyone out there enjoyed the discussion, enjoyed the kind of recap of what's been going on in the world of golf. I know a lot of people use this podcast to kind of keep them up to date on what's going on with golf. I hope that all of you out there have been able to go out and play. I know Banks has been playing a ton. I have not, which is no fun, but I am going to try and get out there a few more times before the season ends. I promise I'm going to try. I'll just live vicariously through Fairbanks. Oh, dude, we didn't talk about, you got a freaking hole-in-one the other day. How are we going to get through this whole podcast without talking about that?
We almost made it.
You got to give us I need the whole story. Come on.
Oh boy. Well, the whole story. So
what number is this? 1, 2? How many have you had?
This is number 2.
Oh, that's so cool.
This is number 2. I think my grandfather has 7.
That's awesome.
And I think my great grandmother has 9.
That's incredible.
I have 2. So yeah. No, it was a good shot. Hadn't been hitting the ball. It was last weekend, hole 15 is about 180 yards, elevated tee. A little wind in our face. Hit a smooth knockdown 6, little draw, kept it low, hit it perfectly. Saw it bounce once on the green and then couldn't see it. As well as I hit it, that whole center of the club face thing every once in a while. I assumed it went over the green.
Yeah.
So the way that the cart path goes, the cart path takes you behind the green. So I'm looking, and the guys. Finally, one of the guys that I'm playing with, does the whole. Oh, did you check the hole? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh shit, there's my ball.
I'll get a better reaction than that.
So, and then I did see the ball mark. I mean, I hit. It was nice in the fact that I executed the shot that I was trying to hit. Right. Yeah. It's not like, oh yeah, I chunked it and it got a big bounce.
I've been a part of one of those. I've been a part of one that just ran from 70 yards away, all the way up. He topped the shit out of it, ran all the way up, and somehow went in the hole.
Yeah, so I can at least hang my hat on. I executed the shot that I was trying to play, and I think my ball mark was probably like 8 feet from the cup, and then it just landed soft enough and rolled in. So it was pretty.
That's awesome.
It was a little anticlimactic because we're looking for the ball for the first 2 minutes, but it was exciting. It was exciting, and two down.
Awesome, so cool. I'm happy for you. That's great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Well, we're gonna leave you for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks so much for listening, watching, wherever you are, whenever you are. If you are watching on YouTube, click that little red button. We're getting real close to 25 subscribers to the channel. Really trying to hit that mark, before the end of the year here. Be really great. It's free. Just click that button. You'll be up to date with all our videos. Just follow us, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, anywhere that you get podcasts, you can find us. Just type in the Two Way Miss. Follow us on Twitter. The network is at BNB Podcast. The podcast is at the Two Way Miss. Follow us on Instagram at BNB Podcast. Follow Banksy on Instagram at Fairbanks C23. Fairbanks 23, one of those two.
Something like that.
Just keep typing Fairbanks, you'll find him.
Yeah, C23.
There you go. There you go. So make sure you give him a follow. We appreciate everyone that watches, everyone that listens. We really appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast. Listen, we'll be back next week or the week after, with all your new news in golf. Hopefully you enjoyed tonight's episode, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Swing hard, everyone.
Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.
Oh my, that's a shake. He decided to re-tee. That's a shake.